Hi, this is Alex Helmbrecht, the Sports Information Director at Chadron State College, and I'm sitting here this afternoon with Chadron State football coach Brad Smith. The Eagles had a successful 17-hour voyage to western New Mexico, coming away with a 21-13 victory over the western New Mexico Mustangs. The win puts Chadron State at 4-4 overall, more importantly 4-2 in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. They got to 500 on the season. Western New Mexico falls to 4-4 overall as well. Coach, just first off, obviously it was a tough week on a lot of the people involved with the Chadron State program, especially the players, but boy, did they ever respond at Silver City.
They sure did, and I think it's basically a tribute to them and the coaching staff was in place. I mean, they just did an excellent job of keeping the morale up, keeping the players focused, and just attacking the job at hand, and that was to go down there and make that long trip, as you mentioned, and get a win. And they did that, and it makes you very proud to be a part of Chadron State College and a part of a Chadron State College football program.
The two teams played for a scoreless first quarter. Chadron State got on the board, actually scored all three of its touchdowns in a row, owned a 21-0 lead. CSC scored twice on successive drives in the second quarter. Glenn Clinton went in with a 9-yard run, and then Brandon Gorsuch followed with an 8-yard pass on the Eagles' next drive to Cody Rose, coach. And then Jeff Alcorn added a 52-yard touchdown there later in the third quarter. Western New Mexico, though, did make things interesting, scored twice in the fourth quarter, but surprisingly enough, only had 2 timeouts left in the fourth after they scored their final touchdown with 2.5 minutes left and kicked it deep to you guys. Were you surprised that they did that?
I was. I thought for sure we were going to get an onside kick, but I think with only 2 timeouts left, if they had to think about it again, they might change their philosophy. But they thought maybe they could kick it deep and prevent us from getting a first down. If we wouldn't have got that key first down there in that last few seconds of the game, it would have forced us to punt.
Yeah, Glenn Clinton rushed for that first down. The sophomore from Cody, Wyoming, had his best game of the season. He, of course, missed the first 3 games with a broken bone in his hand. But he's almost back to 100% now, ran for 148 yards. And Brandon Gorsuch continued to improve in his, I believe it is his 6th start of the season. He threw for 279 yards on 19 completions and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and you know, Alex, it was interesting because from a spectator's standpoint, standing back and watching Brandon throughout the season, you realize he's got a lot of skills that it takes to be a great quarterback. He throws the ball exceptionally well. He's got a very, very live arm and does a good job of seeing the field. But, you know, probably one of the things that impressed me the most was watching him in practice. Coach Stein and the offensive staff really do an excellent job with the offensive aspect of the game and did a wonderful job of coaching him up, and he has improved tremendously. I know that Coach Abell used to comment that Brandon was a very good talent, and once he learned and got a grasp of the system, he was going to be a very strong quarterback, which is true right now.
The defense really stole the show for Chadron State. Western New Mexico entered the game averaging over 360 yards of total offense. The Mustangs, though, were held to 100 yards below that, finishing with 258 yards. A big day from Eagles defenders James Belleville, Kiefer Burke, both had 2.5 sacks. James Belleville was just recently named the RMAC Player of the Week, and as a team, the squad finished with 6 sacks. So I know Coach Auer is happy to see that.
I know he's happy as well. You know, Todd has always been such a strong defensive coordinator and a defensive mind, and when he can get his young men to put things together like they did on Saturday, he's bound to come off with a smile on his face. And you know, oftentimes the competitor that Coach Auer is, and that competition and that philosophy rubs off on the defensive team. And I'll tell you what, they play with a lot of intensity. Watching from the sidelines, their quarterback came off the field several times with looked like he wasn't going to be able to make it back on, but he was a pretty good kid. And you're right, Western New Mexico's got a very strong, talented offensive football team, and Todd did a great job. Todd and his staff did a great job of finding the weak spots in their armor and attacking it.
Well, the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference action will continue this weekend. Chadron State welcomes Fort Lewis into town. The Skyhawks are 2-6 overall in the season, 1-5 in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. Their lone win in the conference came a couple weeks ago at Western State. They defeated the Mountaineers 27-10. But really, they've kind of had a hard time of it so far this season, struggling a little bit on offense, averaging just a shade under 300 yards a game, while giving up over 450. So, Coach, Fort Lewis probably isn't one of the more talented teams in the conference, but at this point in the season, anything can happen, and I'm sure your guys are going to be ready for them.
You're right, Alex. I think probably one of the philosophies we've had here for a long, long time is to not overlook anybody and to just take one game at a time. Well, this is another game that we've got to step it up, and the coaches are going to work hard. I'm sure that they'll have our football team prepared. We looked at film yesterday, and you're right. Fort Lewis has got some talent and got some position players that can do some things, but I think we match up pretty well with them, and I think it'll be a good football game.
Tim Jenkins is one of the top quarterbacks in the RMAC. He's at Fort Lewis. He throws it a lot. He's 313 attempts. He's just under 2,000 yards for the season, but just 9 touchdowns. Fort Lewis, though, does have a pretty solid core of receivers. Six different players have over 100 yards in the season, so I'm sure it'll probably be an offensive show.
It should be. I know the way Todd thinks it's not going to be, because he's going to get him. If he doesn't have a shutout, he gets upset. But that's kind of Fort Lewis's trademark. They've always been that way. They've always had a good quarterback and a good receiving core for the longest that I can remember, and sometimes they'll catch fire. So we've got to be on our toes and make sure that we're up for the challenge.
That game on Saturday is as part of the NCAA. Take a kid to the game. Any paying adult gets into the game for free. Any kid with a paying adult gets into the game for free. We do need to make some money on football games. But Coach, I know you also being the athletic director here, I know you love seeing those young faces in the crowd.
I sure do. It's a great opportunity for us to kind of showcase the football team that these coaches have put together, and to give young people in our community an opportunity to come out and watch a game and have fun.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck to you this Saturday. That is set for a noon kickoff.
You got it, Alex. Thank you.